Okay, so in today's web dev tip, we're going to add some mobile navigation to our app. As we saw from the tutorial yesterday, we've done some refactoring to make sure the app appears okay on a smaller mobile device. But what we've done with the actual menu, if you look at the full view, the desktop view, you can see we've got some links to various different places. We're just hiding that on the mobile view at the moment. So we're going to create an off-screen navigation, and we're going to do that in two parts. We're going to relay out that menu that we just saw on the desktop into a vertical list instead of a horizontal list, and then we'll also create a hamburger icon. Or just add a hamburger icon so that we can actually toggle the menu in and out. And the menu will live off screen, so you won't be able to see it in normal view, but it'll be sort of over this side of the actual document. So let's make a start. Let's go over to our code. So the first thing we need to do is just make sure that we've got some markup for that. And in our index page, what we'll do is we'll just create a new div element right next to the unordered list. And we'll give that a class of mobile nav. And we'll use that to put the hamburger icon on, so that'll be the button essentially to toggle this unordered list in and out of view. Okay, so that's the only markup we actually need. We're not going to create a different menu structure for that. We're just going to reuse the existing unordered list. And as you can see in the styles at the moment, we're setting that to be displayed as none. So let's work on that first of all. The first thing we're going to do is when we're in the media query for a smaller view, what we'll say is the display of the items is flex, and also the flex direction is set as column. Let's add a bit of padding around that as well. We'll say there's 2 rem all the way around, and also we'll set the background color to be our black color, because at the moment there is no background color, and when we slide it in, it might overlap with other items, so we want to make sure that you can still read that text, and we'll do that by setting the background color. So how are we going to control the position of this element? Well, I'm actually going to use a fixed position. So that means no matter where the user is on the app on the screen, they'll always see the hamburger icon, which we'll deal with in a moment, but also the menu will always slide into that place. It won't just be at the top of the page. So we're going to make some adjustments to where this lives on the actual document. So I'm just going to push it to the right, off the screen by 150 pixels, and also the top, we're just going to bring it back up a bit as well by 2 rem, just based on the position of where it is in the document. And also I'm going to add an additional class that can be added to the unordered list, and that will be to indicate when the actual navigation is open, and when the navigation is open, we're just going to set the right property to be 0. And the other thing I might just do as well is with the list items that are inside there, we'll set the margin top and bottom for those to be 1 rem and 0 on the left and right, because you usually get quite a lot of margin added to list item elements. Okay, so that should be enough for the unordered list in the navigation. I might just actually add in the transition property as well here. So we just basically flip in between these 2 states and modifying this right value, so we can get a little bit of a smooth animation by using a transition property here. I'll use all, but it's really only this right property that we're transitioning. And now if we go over to our web page, we should be able to see in the mobile view here, there's no menu that we can see, but you can see the markup is actually in the page there. So if we then go ahead and add that class of open dynamically into the page, you can see the menu slides in, and just by toggling that class now we can show or hide that menu. Okay, so that's the premise of our off-screen navigation. We're just going to add in the button, which will appear so the user can do that without having to actually manually add the class themselves in the DevTools. So we're going to target that mobile nav element that we just added into the markup at the start of the tutorial, and we're going to do similar sort of things here. We'll set the position to be fixed, and we're going to set the right property to be 0, and then when we add an open class to that mobile nav, we're going to set the right property to 135 pixels, which will slide it over to the left. And we'll also adjust the background color of that and set that to black, because as mentioned, it'll overlap things and we just want to make sure that it can be seen on the page. And just in case it's overlapping any elements that we have underneath it, we'll just raise its Z index so that it sits on top of everything. So what are we actually going to put in this mobile nav? We mentioned we're going to put a hamburger in, and there's loads of different options you can do here. You can create your own elements and put borders on them, or you can use the pseudo before and after elements, but I'm just going to go basic with this. I've imported an actual SVG into the project, so we'll say it's inside of /assets and it's menu.svg, and you'll see that in just a second. So we've got the position as fixed. We'll set the display as block, just so that we ensure that it is a block level element. And finally, let's just put a bit of padding on there as well. So we'll say 1 rem all the way around. Okay, we'll save that. So if we go over to the page, we should see our hamburger icon appearing now, and that has lined up quite nicely with the logo on there. And if we just click on the element here and just add that open class, you can see that's moving over to the left as well. We should also probably put the transition on this as well, so that slides across. So transition all 0.3 seconds ease. Let's try that again. So on the mobile nav element, add the open class, it slides across, and also on the unordered list, we'll slide that across, and you can see it just sits just on top of that unordered list display element there. So it kind of looks like it's part of that menu in itself. And if we scroll down, because the position is fixed, this is kind of accessible wherever we are on the page. But of course it doesn't have to be. You could have it taking up the whole viewport if you wanted to, or you could just have it so that it's only accessible at the top of the page. It's up to you, but I think this works quite well with our app. Just to give us a little bit of a responsive off-screen navigation. So in the next tutorial, we're just going to add a bit of code, some TypeScript code that will actually just allow the user to toggle the menu in and out by clicking on that hamburger icon. But that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.